So, before we continue with everything, my question of the day is: Frankie Fredericks represented which African country in athletics?
Wow.
I told you guys beforehand what it was, so you already know.
Okay, well, I was totally gonna act like I knew it.
Okay, so I will be saying that at the beginning of after each not broadcast, but at the beginning of each break, after the break, so there'll be more and more options for them to call in and do the answer. So, just a quick question for we'll start with baseball actually. From this point forward, who do you think will go to the the World Series? Who do you think's gonna visit this year's World Series between who we are now? Chet?
Honestly, not to be really biased or anything, but Chicago Cubbies, they got a great team this year. Also, definitely the Red Sox. They are unstoppable.
Yeah.
But who I'd like to see are the Cubs and the Red Sox. Who I think is really going to do it are the Astros and the Red Sox. The Astros, they're still going strong this year. I don't know. It's going to be hard.
Trey?
Well, I gotta say, I think the Cubs do have a great shot. Your Cubbies, I know you're all decked out today. I do like them coming out of the NL actually, and like you said before, the Red Sox they appear to be unstoppable. If Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton can strike out a little bit less, we'll see about that. They might be able to make a run for it. They could definitely be one of the better wild card teams that we've seen, especially since the new format kicked in.
Well, because Judge is still on the DL, and they never know when he's going to be back. So,
well, fingers crossed for them. He gets back in time, right?
Yeah.
As of right now, if I had the prediction, I'd probably have to say the Red Sox Cubbies. Honestly, with your points exactly, it's like the Cubbies are coming off of pretty much since they won the World Series have come off really good seasons, especially with Hamill and just their pitching style. They are probably in the NL. They are probably one of the better pitching. I don't want to say powerhouses, but compared to the other NL Central, even the other NL pitchers, they're one of the better pitching groups. Especially if I had to name one, I know he's with the Phillies now, Jake Arrieta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jake Arrieta. I have always kind of been jealous of that the Cubs have gotten him. But
as you should be.
Yeah. And then for the American League, probably either the Red Sox or I would say the Astros, but they're probably in competitiveness with the Yankees. It'd probably have to come down to the Red Sox number one, and then the Yankees and the Astros tied second. I have a feeling they'll probably be facing the Red Sox in the AL Conference Championship.
Right.
The day of the MLB trade deadline, which was about a month ago, a few weeks to a month ago from now, we saw players like Bryce Harper being traded away from the Nationals, and I was kind of nervous. I don't want to say nervous, but I was kind of uneasy about that he was going to be traded away, because he just won the home run derby at his own park 2 years in a row, and the fact that they're talking about him getting traded away slightly worries me. Guys, thoughts before I continue with this subject?
I don't think they were really ever going to trade him away. You know, I think they're still in contention for the playoffs. And you know, you get the best players out there, you always got a shot to win. And for one, he's going to be the one selling tickets down the stretch. And at the end of the day, it's a business still.
Yeah, I agree. You know, he's one of the, if not best hitters in the league. There's no way that the Nats were gonna trade him.
I mean, that's the thing though that I have to mention is same could be said about Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates. No one.
Right.
But I mean, that's the thing about Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates is that towards the end of McCutchen's career, at least at Pittsburgh, I don't want to say it was an easy one. It was just they wouldn't pull the trigger in terms of pay. And I feel like Bryce Harper, in terms of all that, is just totally different in terms of why he's staying and why they've talked about him leaving the Nationals.
Right.
Well, you know, wherever he goes, he's going to get the biggest contract probably in MLB history.
Yeah.
Easily. I mean, that's the thing is like I want to say he's slightly going down. I don't want to say going downhill. He's coming to the end of his prime age, if not slightly towards the opposite side. He's not coming into his prime. He's kind of middle to end of prime. So he will definitely be getting the biggest contract in MLB history, but how many years? That's the question.
Right.
Like, will it be 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 4 years, 3? How long do you think it would happen?
Well, if we're talking Nationals, I'm trying to ink him for 10 years if I can. But is he going to agree to something like that? That's up for debate for sure.
Well, that and there's been the rumors that he's going to sign with the Cubs in the offseason.
Well, everybody's signed with the Cubs according to the rumors.
Well, yeah. But,
yeah, it's like every other week I hear Andrew McCutchen going to the Cubs.
Well, you also got to think Bryce is a really good kind of rumor because he played in Las Vegas with Chris Bryant.
Right.
So he's got that chemistry with Chris. And oh my God,
they'd be unstoppable.
If Bryce Harper went to the Cubs,
they would probably be in.
Everybody else.
Yeah, as a Reds fan, I don't know if I could bear that one.
Yeah, that is true. As a Pirates fan, that we would definitely be in second place, if not last place, every single year if Bryce Harper came to the NL Central.
However, I mean, there's the chance that they could be like the Brewers, picking up Yelich and what was the other one? I don't know his name, but yeah, they picked up 2 of big names, and
they're doing average,
Well, they're still in contention, man.
Yeah,
I think
they're
they're
still in
shocking a lot of
contention,
people.
but
Shocking a lot of people.
you gotta look at the division leaders, the Cubs.
Yeah.
So they got a young team.
Yeah,
So.
true. And while we're talking about Harper and all that type of stuff, and I brought this up earlier in Andrew McCutchen, he whenever I was looking everything up, was on revocable trade waivers, which he has since been kind of in between actually playing and being on revocable trade waivers. Will he be traded at least before the end of the season, or because that's the thing about the Giants is I really have no hope for them to actually go to the playoffs because they're behind. I think they're behind the Pirates, and they're like 4 games under 500 and like 8 games out of just wild card contention.
And Posey just went down for the season too. You gotta take that into consideration. If there's ever a time to do anything, it's now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know though because they've already got McCutchen. They've got Pence. I mean, those 2 in the outfield, it's just insane. And yeah, McCutchen's old, so is Pence, but they're still fairly decent at the game.
Yeah, they're still they may not be as much as they are in their prime, which was probably a few years ago, but they're still hitting what 250 around 250 not ERA, but average, getting 10. I think all of them may have around 10 home runs this season. So I mean, they're not what they used to be, but they're still at that point that if they wanted to, they could get something out of him, out of all of them, especially McCutcheon because of just the name. But I think what is happening with McCutcheon is that he just has a gigantic contract because he's getting like $14-15 million a year and is only hitting 250, around 250, hitting only 10-12. He's only hit 10-12 home runs so far in the season with over 120, 130 games, which anyone with how like if he was in his prime should be getting 20 or more. I think that's the biggest problem with that is that they're not they're not getting what they're giving out is the deal with at least McCutcheon.
Right, and I think they're just paying him for the name.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they've got Posey, but like you said, he just went down for the season, and you think, oh, it's Andrew McCutcheon.
Yeah, it's got to be his team now, but
Right.
will he be able to carry them in the playoffs? If I was a betting man, I'd probably say no on that one.
I mean, even being a Pittsburgh fan and him being in Pittsburgh for up until this season, I don't really feel that we could rely on him as much as like say Posey or for like in other teams like Harper. That type of stuff. We can't put that amount of, I don't want to say baggage, but we can't put that amount of pressure into a player who's not as productive as he was 4 or 5 years ago, especially when the Pirates were doing the 3 years of going to the playoffs, which Pirates are an entirely different show. I have an itch to scratch with them, but
well, also about the Giants, you also got to think they're completely out of playoff contention now.
Yeah, realistically, yeah.
Because I mean, look at the Dodgers. They just picked up Machado.
Yeah.
They've got Machado. They've got Muncy. They've got Kershaw on the mound.
Yeah, and yet they're still behind the Diamondbacks and the Rockies too in that division.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good season.
Yeah, it should be fun going into the playoffs for sure.
Yeah. I have a feeling that this year is gonna see some familiar faces, but it's gonna kind of look different just with the other how strong other teams have been. Just I don't want to say weirdly, but like just compared to last year, how some teams have just like exploded, even though they've done really good last year.
Right.
So, switching topics to football, and Le'Veon Bell, he's been a hot topic along the just within the news with this off season because of the Steelers putting a franchise tag on him. That and the fact that he's been wanting money for his for what he's been producing, and the fact that Todd Gurley got a 4-year, $57.5 million contract. What does this mean for Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers, and how his contract will turn out? Because before we continue, each year is like $14 million, a little over $14 million a year. So, that I just wanted to keep that in mind for this topic.
Yeah, well, Le'Veon, he's transcendent. He's totally changed the position, changed the game, and now people on the come up, they're trying to mimic what he does. You know, with his, I don't know if I would say slower pace, but he definitely he waits to pick his hole, and that's frankly something we really haven't seen before in the National Football League. And he also does it pretty well, I would say too.
Yeah.
I would say he is by far the best running back in the league. And at the end of the day, the Steelers they're gonna pay him like that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you also got to think of the name. It's Le'Veon Bell. I mean, like you said, he's probably the best running back in the league. They're still going to pay him.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, I saw this report like a month or two ago that the Steelers, in terms of their offense, have one of the more expensive offenses with Brown, with not Jesse James because of him being new to the league, but with Brown, with Roethlisberger, with just our offensive line, the fact that all of them, if not 95%, like a good chunk of them, have already seen the All-Star, have already been named to the All-Stars, have like one of the expensive things, because I think Brown has is getting paid like $13 million a year. Ben is getting paid like nearly double digits, millions of dollars a year, and just the offensive line. I feel like they're gonna pay him, but I just have a feeling that he's not gonna be as productive if he goes to another team. He'll be probably productive just by the way that he plays, just because of the way that he plays. That's not gonna change. It's just like, how fast is he gonna have to switch from playing on the Steelers' offensive line to possibly the Buccaneers' offensive line, or like the Bears' offensive line, because each line is insanely different. It's not every line may take like 10 seconds for the defense to get through. So I think that may be the difference on how he plays from team to team.
Yeah, of course. I mean, switching teams is never easy for anybody, and that includes Le'Veon Bell. So I think it's in both of their best interests to stay together. I don't think the Steelers could really afford to lose him.
No.
Can you imagine the outrage among fans if that would happen?
I mean, you've seen that with Andrew McCutcheon and the Pirates. That's the thing. That is the thing, though, is that you'll still have a good chunk of the team. It's just that population that's still in love with Bell will be lost. So
There'd be animosity there for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like the Cubs or like any other team trading away one of their bigger stars. So, along with the Steelers and all that stuff, James Harrison, who as you've heard, was fired from the Steelers and like this past December, and I don't want to say fired, but let go from the Steelers and joined Patriots, has stated that Bill Belichick is a far better coach than Mike Tomlin. Very easy to agree, even as a Steelers fan.
I don't really know if anybody can compare to Bill Belichick, to be fair.
Because I think what he meant by that is just the fact that the structure and the way that the team practices goes upon how they responsibility. I think that's what he meant to. I think that's what I meant to say, is that the responsibility on each player is different under Bill Belichick than Mike Tomlin.
I gotta think he probably runs the tightest ship in the NFL.
Yeah, winning 5 Super Bowls over the last 15 years, I think that is very true.
Yeah, that definitely says something. There's no doubt about that one.
Yeah.
I hate to say it as a Colts fan, but yeah, he's a good, if not the best coach in the NFL.
Currently and possibly forever. Oh, Again,
I wouldn't
that's
go as
another
far as saying that.
that's another topic for another show.
We'll see if he gets a trophy named after him one day.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, that is very true. Staying within the conference and the Cleveland Browns, just how the trades and the moves that they've been doing the last few months. What are your feelings about how the Browns will be doing within the next year, 2 years, 5 years?
Obviously they're still not playoff contention. They've still got a little bit of building to do. However, they have turned it around a lot, especially with picking up Mayfield in the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on track to being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And then they also picked up a wide receiver. I can't think of his name.
Jarvis Landry. Was it
Yeah.
Jarvis? Yeah, it was
Jarvis
Landry.
Landry and Tyra Taylor from just trading. I think to get the current players that they have now, they had to trade like 5 different players and like as equal draft picks just to get them. So
Well, I mean, they can. It really shows they're all in on their guy, Baker. There's gonna definitely be improvement, but does that mean 8-8 or does it mean 1-15? I guess times are gonna tell. They're a better team, but they're still a year or two away for sure from actual contention.
yeah, I would be completely surprised if they have a 500 or better record. If they have an 8-8 season or better, I have a feeling that they would be surprised. They would surprise every football fan.
I'd be shocked, especially in their division. They're competing against some hard-nosed football teams.
Yeah. I was seeing that I believe it was Westgate, the company that does all the odds for the games and just Super Bowl appearances and all that type of stuff, went from didn't put the normal 200 to 1, 500 to 1 odds for the Browns and set a lot lower. I don't want to say that much lower. I think that it's still 50 to 1 or 25 to 1, but they dramatically drops it. So
I even saw somewhere that one place had them winning it all.
Yeah.
I think that's a stretch.
Yeah, it's a bit far, but
if you're a Browns fan, you got to be excited after all these years to finally they're finally making moves. They're trying.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe they're definitely going to win at least more than one game this year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Winning more than one, I think, after what happened the last 2 seasons, and even just this past season, going 0-16.
Right.
Even winning one is a total turnaround from what happened last year.
Right, and they're still in contention for Des Bryant too.
Right. I mean, you also got to look. They beat the champions.
Yeah.
They beat the Eagles in the preseason.
Yeah, I was gonna say the preseason.
But still, I mean,
pretty much the backups and kind of starters beat the backups to they're going for themselves so that they can say that they beat the backups.
Yeah.
So they have that room.
That's still more than they could say last year.
They'll still take it.
Yeah, even if it is preseason or not. And even with preseason, what are your thoughts about the current preseason standings? How each team is playing, how each team is currently standing compared to other teams, like the Patriots, like the Eagles, like the Steelers, that type of stuff.
Oh, it's completely different. Like we were just talking about with the Browns. I mean, last year, like you said, they went 0-16, and they're already 2-0 or 2-1 in the preseason.
Let me check that out. But yeah, the fact that they're already 2 and not 2-1, but what's I think they are 2-1. Yeah, Ravens 4-0, Bengals 3-0, and Steelers and Browns 2-0, 2-1.
Right.
Yeah,
the Bengals too.
Yeah, well, Bengals have been not sound like a homer, but they definitely been impressing me as have the Browns. The AFC North is going to be a tough division this year. There's no easy games.
Yeah, that is very true. And before we go on our first break, what with what the football standings, even though they're preseason, with the football standings currently looking the way that they are now, I want to know your super early predictions for both who will go in the NFC/AFC championship games and then going to the Super Bowl. I know that's this is what 20 weeks, 5 months away.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the Vikings last year, they made a huge run. I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs again this year. I also think the Bills are going to make it again this year.
Yeah.
If not the conference championship. Obviously, the Patriots, they're the powerhouse in the NFL. No questions asked. Eagles, they're just like the Cubs in baseball. They've got a young team, and they've got a whole bunch of potential, especially with Wentz being back.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah. Before I continue, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I like AFC. AFC championship game wise, of course, you almost always have to go with the Patriots at this point.
Right.
But I like a dark horse to make it to the AFC championship. I like the Chargers this year a lot. You know, they started out 0-4 last year. They got hot. They were honestly one of the hottest football teams in the league going into the end of the season. Just barely missed out in the playoffs. I like them to get in there this year. I like them to make a run. In the NFC, you got to look at the Rams again. I'm not sure if they're quite ready for it, but I really like the Vikings too. They picked up Iloka. That's even better to their already stacked defense. NFC Championship game, I'm going Vikings, Packers. Little division rivalry in the championship. And then AFC, I'm going Chargers, Patriots. And I like the Chargers for the upset, making it to the Super Bowl against the Vikings, and Vikings finally getting it done this year.
I could see that.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I
Especially with the turmoil with the Patriots this offseason. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, especially with having their star cornerback leaving. That's gotta be a big fire under their kettle in terms of how well they'll perform this year. As you guys said, Patriots, and I have pretty much a Patriots going in the AFC.
That's a pretty much given.
Yeah, but the team that feels like I have a feeling that they're gonna be not as much of a dark horse as the Chargers, but still kind of dark horse is the Chiefs. They're at that point that I have a feeling they're within a few trades of being really successful. I don't want to say being successful. They're within a few trade moves of being a really good hot team, at least for a few years. And then for the NFC, I have, of course, the Vikings, as both of you guys agree on, and I still have either the Rams or the Eagles going up against them. So it's really hard depending on how well they. I think within the first 5 weeks of the regular season, it will probably prove who goes on. Well, of course, as with any team, but between the Eagles and the Rams, I have a feeling that's gonna be the biggest effect of who I choose.
Right.
So, well, we will be back in just shortly after this commercial break on the Levis. You're listening to the Levis Effect only on WWSU 106.9 FM. Fairborn, Dayton, Dayton's right choice.
Who said that? Me, down here.
Yeah, they have the weirdness.
These are is the commercials.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've had an adventure for
Mom
Some
took
pretty
us to the forest
generic
last year.
Yeah.
time to get here.
That's a good show so far.
Yeah, the forest is not that
How many viewers we got?
Come to the forest where WWSU lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Looking for uncommon talent? Meet the grads of life. They're not the typical candidates you're used
Hello?
to, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Hello?
An ideal fit for entry-level positions, internships,
Okay.
and even mentorships. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn more.
Zach Paul, eh?
Gradsoflife.org.
Oh.
There's someone here that was calling.
Saying it was a good show. They like it.
What'd they say?
Distracted driving means.
They literally, I picked up and they're like, Doug, hang up.
Safe driving.
Maybe your maybe the phone was on or something.
Staying alive.
Visit StopTax.
Yeah, the reason why they came in earlier is because I forgot to
Traffic Safety
put
Administration. Project
the
Yellow
volume
Light, Noise
sensors
and
up.
Ad Council.
Like these.
Yeah.
I forgot to put those up. So it was silent for my entire intro.
Oh, somebody heard the DJ Dougie Fresh? Oh, no.
Just do it when you come back.
Yeah.
What up, this DJ Dougie?
Yeah, you have
Fresh?
to.
Yeah.
For some odd reason, I got so nervous and totally forgot your name.
Mine?
Yeah, I
I
don't
forgot
know
my
why.
name.
What?
Scott, you gotta get in now. You have to. It's been a hot take show. So
Dude, I would have wanted to be in on the baseball. I would have liked that and the rest.
come on, man.
What are the remaining topics, though?
We got. I'm gonna struggle on the hockey.
Yeah, I'm gonna not know what the hell I'm talking about.
Basketball.
Basketball.
I'm not gonna know what. I don't watch basketball very much.
Come
No.
on,
Well,
man.
I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors both
You're good.
winning the
So I guess
championship
you're good.
and acquiring DeMarcus Cousins.
That's OP. They got their whole starting lineups to just all people that are top 2 in the league, except for Draymond.
Basically, yeah.
And then
Yeah, maybe he's just not a
LeBron James and his number just
maybe he's
in Cleveland. And then finally Pierce, Bosh, and Love talking about mental illness. So, well, I don't know. Should we talk about that? About the mental illness part?
What time's your class?
4:40.
Wondering, so I'm sure it was. I was like,
I don't know, man. It's your show.
It's just a questionable thing.
Call the plays.
And then I'm talking about a few great state stuff, just some few of like the games that are coming up. Just Urban Meyer. We're talking about Urban Meyer.
Okay.
And then
How biased that is.
and then just at the end, if we have time, I'll talk about today in sports history and games to watch, and then that's it. So,
Speaking of Urban Meyer, you're gonna see me furious.
Are you? Okay.
I'm a Michigan fan.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Your donations to
56 seconds.
So what? How many viewers we at now?
I'm
Doing good. Can you not see during the show?
No, we used to, but because people would only be getting like 3 listeners,
Yeah.
it got them. They really kind of started being like, I don't really want to be doing this. I don't really want to be talking about all this. Only 3 people are gonna
Oh wow.
listen.
So you don't even get to know how many people watch your show.
Yeah, because originally I had like my very first show. I was talking about. I had like 12 listeners,
Yeah.
and then I started kind of getting into a little more sensitive stuff like politics and all that stuff. And mine went from 12 to like 6, almost within like 5-10 minutes. I'm like, yeah,
That makes sense.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Levis Effect, only on WWSU 106.9 FM. I'm DJ Dougie Too Fresh. With me today, as always, and before we went on break, is Chet Lewis and Trey Applebaum. We may have a third one, but he's kind of hesitant on coming on, so you're getting called out on to tens of people. But we're talking our first before we talk about basketball. My trivia question of the week is: Frankie Fredericks represented which African country in athletics? Just not specific athletics, not like the Olympics or anything like that. Just athletics. That'll come at the end of the show. And so we're talking about basketball and the Golden State Warriors. As you know, they've won their third championship in 4 years. Question that I have about them is: could you think is this a dynasty?
Well, I think it's absolutely a dynasty.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
Although with the pickup of Cousins, because he's gone downhill.
Yeah.
However, it's like Cole Hamels in baseball.
Yeah.
Change of scenery, and he just turned his career around.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing that's interesting about Cousins, right? So he was putting up the big numbers in New Orleans. Obviously, got voted as a All-Star starter before he eventually got hurt.
Right.
Just like he was doing in Sacramento, and they were doing all right. So, but you would think with a superstar of his caliber, he should be winning a lot of games. And the interesting thing with him is that after he went down, New Orleans actually started doing better. They started to rise up the rankings of the Western Conference from mid-level to the upper. They were in the upper seats by the end of the year. So it has something to say about maybe him as a person. I don't know. I obviously don't know him. I just go to Wright State.
Right.
But it's definitely questionable. And is it a move that it could end up being a bad move, a misstep by the Warriors that could actually end up hurting them? Is it going to derail their chances of a championship? Probably not. It's tough to not. Well, you got to really try not to win a championship. You got Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and one of the best benches in the NBA.
Right.
So you got to really try not to win a championship for that. But they could end up being worse off than they were last year.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And with before I continue, anything from you, Chet?
Nope.
Okay, well, going along with that, how do you feel in terms of the Western Conference and the fact that LeBron James came across the aisle into the Western Conference with joining the Lakers? Is there going to be more of a Golden State Warriors going to the finals every year scene, or is it going to be LeBron James going to LeBron James's team going to the finals every year type of scene?
Well, I don't think the Lakers are going to be ready for that. LeBron, I think he knows he gave up making the finals this year. I think he's looking bigger picture right now.
Yeah.
He's looking next summer to attract a bigger star. I think this year you got Golden State and Houston again. Although I think Houston's going to drop off, losing Trevor Ariza and Mbah Moute, two of their real big time guys. They're really the reason they were so good on defense last year and were able to compete. And then you look at OKC, who I think is going to be in that 3 seed, who could potentially make a run at it. I think getting rid of Carmelo is going to be addition by subtraction almost. I think he was a big negative for him last year, and I think they're going to be better off without him. So I think you got those 3 at the top, and then you got a mid-pack where you're going to see the Lakers, the Jazz, and the Pelicans. But I don't think any of those teams, at least this year, really has a shot at upsetting the Warriors.
Yeah, kind of going on what he was saying. The Lakers, they picked up LeBron, but they've still got some building to do.
Yeah.
The good thing, though, is they can build around LeBron now,
Yeah.
like Cleveland built around him.
Yeah. I'm not much of a basketball fan, so I can't really say much about it. But as to your point, that they have a good starting point with LeBron being the person to wrap around and build from, especially if they are getting other training some of their minor players for kind of better players. I could be totally wrong with that, but like I said, I'm not much of a basketball fan, so I haven't heard much of the Lakers. And along with James, with LeBron going to the Lakers, it's almost do you feel like it's almost guaranteed that once the time is right that the Cavaliers will retire his number?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, they for sure.
He brought them a championship.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Not just the Cavaliers, the city of Cleveland, really.
Yeah,
they were a
yeah.
city starving for any success in the franchise.
Right.
And the hometown boy is the one that delivered it. It's really it's a story for the ages, especially the way they did it too. You know,
Yeah.
the whole Warriors blew 3-1 lead, all that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you look past the meme of it. It had never been done before. It was an incredible accomplishment, and people are gonna say Kyrie saved them, Kyrie carried them. LeBron won that Finals MVP, and no champion. Michael Jordan had Pippen, Kobe had Shaq, he had Powell. Every superstar has their number two. You don't win without number two. So, without LeBron, the city of Cleveland would still be looking for a championship. I don't think anybody argues that.
Yeah. And with just will he, even though he was only there for 4 years, do you think he would get his number retired in Miami? Because that even though Miami's not as I don't want to say thirsty, but looking as hard for a championship win as Cleveland was up to that point, do you think he would get his number retired there?
I don't think so. Although it's hard saying. But I mean, you also got to look. Miami's had a lot of greats throughout.
Yeah.
They've had Wade. They still have Wade. They had Bosch. They had the trio: Wade, Bosch, and James.
Yeah.
They had Shaq for a couple years. I mean, I can't really see Miami retiring his number as much as I do Cleveland retiring.
Well, I think Cleveland's a shoo-in. Really, there's no way that they won't. Miami, that's iffy. Really, only because he was there for 4 years.
Right.
Can you really put somebody up with the all-time greats of a franchise that was only there for 4 years?
Yeah.
Not to mention, he only did deliver 2 championships to Miami.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not like he went 4 for 4.
Yeah, he only won 2. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, because of that, and even if he had gone 4 for 4, I wouldn't see it just because it's only 4 years. That's not enough time to make a big enough impact that you would have to make, I think, to get your jersey retired.
Yeah. And with just how deep the Lakers history is with all of their players and all that stuff, with do you think what do you think LeBron would have to do to get his number retired in with the Lakers?
I think he would have to build a time machine and go to the Lakers in 2010 and retire with them.
Yeah.
I think that's really the only way. Especially the Lakers, that's even a more historic franchise with the Heat.
Yeah.
Right.
We're talking Kobe, we're talking Magic, we're talking Shaq. I mean, and not to say LeBron can't be mentioned in that conversation, but he signed a 4-year contract, so we don't know what he's going to do after that. But I don't think he has enough of the elite years left in him to be able to make that kind of impact on the Lakers.
Okay. Yeah. So as you guys have said earlier, we're switching to a little bit of hockey, and that you guys don't really know much about hockey. That's the thing, is this area isn't much of a hockey town as like Chicago or Pittsburgh or the entire country of Canada. And nothing against people in
It's a bit
Canada.
far-fetched, Doug.
Well, that's the thing, is like nothing against that. It's just every time I read books about like people from Canada, it's like, oh, we were obsessed with it, or like they were just talking about it a lot. But even if you don't pay attention to hockey, you probably have heard that the Washington Capitals won their first Stanley Cup championship in their 43-year going on to 44 this year. After beating the Blue Jackets and Penguins 6 games, the Lightning in 7, and the more recent team, the Golden Knights, in 5.
Wow.
Again, the Golden Knights, totally different topic because of the fact that they were in their inaugural season and they went straight to the championship their first season. But on top of them winning the Stanley Cup, their captain, Alex Ovechkin, the grade 8, you probably have heard of him, won the Conn Smythe. That's the thing. It's up for debate on if he even deserved getting the Conn Smythe, because there are a few players who like outperformed him not only in scoring but in just like how well they played throughout the championship, throughout the playoffs. That honestly, Ovechkin didn't really deserve the Conn Smythe. That also could be said about Crosby, and when he won back to back in 2016, 2017. I think a slight push on why I feel, I don't know if it's correct, but I think a slight push on why he won it second year is just for the fact of having 2 players in the same franchise winning back-to-back Conn Smythes, with Lemieux doing that in 91, 92. But 12 days after them winning the Stanley Cup, Barry Trotz, their head coach, quit. I want to say quit per se, but he just didn't extend his contract because of just for the fact of contractual disagreements. Because I think he had a clause in his contract saying that if he were to win the Stanley Cup with that team, he was going to be given a slightly higher pay raise and for that contract. But because they didn't want to do it, he just decided he wanted to switch teams, and he actually went to the Islanders. And I have to see how he does, how the not the Pirates, but the Capitals are going to play this year, because they still have a very similar team as this past year when they won the Stanley Cup. It's just not having a coach like Barry Trotz behind the bench. It's going to be a different scene for a lot of them because of the fact that he's been there for multiple years and he's just been the head coach for so many years. I think that's the biggest issue that they're going to have with how well they do. They're still going to be doing great because they still have Crosby, Oshie, and all of them, but not Crosby, Ovechkin and Oshie, and the same goaltending as years past. So, and on top of going to the Islanders, the John Tavares left, who was a big name for that team. He was pretty much like Aaron Judge for the New York Islanders. So it's one of those that losing Tavares is going to be a big, big kind of dagger in their system, even after acquiring Barry Trotz as their head coach. But going back to basketball, I forgot to bring this up. Let's talk about the fact that the topic that stars like Pierce, Bosh, and Love are talking about mental illness. This may have been kind of talked about in years past, but not as popular now. Why do you think that?
Well, I think, it's probably directly because of what we've seen going on in our country. Not to get political or anything, but you see all the shootings going on, and I think mental illness plays a big role in that. And so, luckily for us, we have some star athletes using their platform in a good way and trying to accomplish something that's going to better the country for everybody.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah, that is a good point. Just all the mass shootings and just the deep political divide that has been coming up the last 15, 20 years, and surging currently, like within the last few years, just that is changing a whole entire landscape of how we do it. Because we're getting attacked from everywhere, from just like politics, sports, school, the environment, every other countries. It's just there's so much that we're doing that it's just a gigantic change. And before I give out the answer to the trivia question, I do want to talk about real quickly the Urban Meyer domestic abuse case situation, and that he only is getting a 3-game suspension. Thoughts?
Well, obviously, being a Michigan fan, that's just ridiculous. I mean, yeah, he's a coach. He's not a babysitter, but he's still coaching kids, quote unquote. 3-game suspension. Seriously? I mean, like I said, as a Michigan fan, 3-game suspension is not enough for domestic abuse. It's just not enough.
Well, I mean, you try to look at a little bit of precedent, as much precedent as you can, and you look at Jim Tressel, and he essentially got fired over a tattoo scandal that went on in his program. So I think just because of that, now I am an Ohio State fan, but I think because of that, Urban, he mishandled something far worse than a player getting a tattoo for free. He mishandled domestic abuse, basically, and he failed to report it to the proper people. And I think it should have definitely been. I don't know if he should have been fired. Maybe a year suspension, but 3 games does seem a little light for such a heavy accusation, really.
Okay. Well, I have someone behind Trey talking, giving me something, just not to answer the phone, but yeah, like you said, Trey, I don't think he should get fired, because it's kind of it was just a precedent of just telling the right authorities.
Right.
If for say it was him abusing,
he would immediately got fired.
if he was like him and it was directed towards like some of the players, he would have gotten fired easily.
Well, you also look at what happened with Louisville with basketball. I mean, that was lighter than domestic abuse, and they got championships stripped from them.
Yeah. So it's all really kind of, I don't want to say he said, she said, because it wasn't a he said, she said. It was an actual domestic abuse case. It's just one of those that it could have been handled a lot better by Meyer, and just the punishment should have been slightly harsher instead of a 3-game suspension.
Right, yeah. 3-game definitely does seem light. Sure.
Yeah.
That and the lack of criminal punishment. I mean, yeah, he wasn't ineffectively or indirectly involved, but still he knew about it and didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, and some of the things he's been saying is
he's just getting a slap on the wrist, pretty much.
some of his statements. It's been him basically saying that he saw Zach Smith really in a different light. 'Cause he'd been with him for a long time, and he kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt. And I don't want to say that again that he should be fired just because of that, but especially when you get wind of something that serious, you need to at least report it to the people you're supposed to be reporting to so they can handle it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he failed to do it, and he is being punished for it, although albeit kind of light. He is getting punishment.
Yeah. I think in light of what the situation is, at least he's getting punished for it. It's just the way that he's getting punished and the way that he responded to the punishment and like addressing his quote unquote sorrow and just saying yes, his sorrow to everybody just is like, okay, yeah, you get a slap on the wrist for this case, don't do it again type of thing. That's like if that happened in like any other team, that would have been highly different.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's the one that I think most people are angry about. It's just why it's okay to give other head coaches like 6 games to year suspension, where he just gets three games.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody can agree. As wrong as it might be, if it wasn't of somebody's of Urban Meyer's caliber, if it was somebody maybe sort of new to coaching, just not really at that pedigree yet, they'd be out of a job. I don't think anybody disagreed with that.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer has a job right now because he's Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, there's not, maybe Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, nobody else would be able to withstand something like that.
Even then, it's like you saw players like situations like at Penn. Well, even though Penn State the Penn State situation was much worse.
Yeah.
Just with the fact that it was just sexual assault with underage people. It like you saw that there were people getting fired because of the situation.
Yeah.
And yes, they're two different calibers of wrongdoing, but it's still kind of at that point that's like the strictness on one side wasn't as strict on the other side.
Right.
So
I also think it's a publicity thing, because I mean, Ohio State is one of the best teams in the nation, and I mean that brings the NCAA a lot of money and revenue and everything. So that's my opinion. I think that's why they did it.
well, that wraps up the episode 1, season 3 of the Levis Effect. Only on WWSU 106.9 FM, Fairborn, Dayton. Dayton's right choice.